you, everyone. Happy 2023. This is our first time gathering in the new year. And it's always an honor, always a pleasure. And, we've been doing Wealth Mastery for over a year, and it's always one of my favorite times of the month. And this year we are inviting more guest speakers like Dr. Razur, and I'm so excited to get started. So quick introductions. I'm Ada Piederico, and my co-facilitator and also co-founder of the organization Women of Wealth, Jennifer Burnham Grubbs. I am in private equity. So I'm a real estate investor. I work in private equity. I have a very long and storied background in all areas of finance. And for me, I really hit a moment in my life a couple of years ago when I realized I wasn't telling people what I did for a living for fear of being shamed or judged, because I work in the big bad money industry. And that was a shifting point for me. And also when I met Jennifer, and I'll let her tell a little bit about that, we realized there are powerful, incredible women across all walks and professions who whether it's finance or not, don't really talk about it. They don't have a safe space to talk about these things, and it's of the utmost importance. So we founded Women of Wealth. We partnered with Linda at Leadership Global, and that is what gave rise to Wealth Mastery for Women. So Jennifer, I'll let you give your introduction.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. I'm so thankful to have all of us together and to convene on this important topic. As Adipia mentioned, I'm Jennifer Burnham Grubbs. I'm the co-founder of WOW and also owner and president of Quantum Insurance Services, which is a risk management consulting firm based out of Los Angeles. My background has always been on the insurance side of things, employee benefits, life, disability, long-term care products. And I, too, in a male-dominated industry, started to see how limited my own understanding was in financial topics, and that the limitation was mostly due to not having a forum where I could safely talk about things I didn't know with anyone for fear of looking or sounding dumb, which is the major reason we do these, because nobody, and I can tell you this because I've seen the best of the best within my industry, nobody knows it all. And it's when we as women think that we should know everything and therefore we're not allowed to ask anything that we do become less financially capable. So we're here to bust that open, to have big, deep conversations about how we access and then leverage wealth. And today's topic is one that I believe is really at the heart of some of that, is the piece that works from the inside out, like with almost everything, right, is one of the critical pieces. You could go get your MBA. I know people who have MBAs and still not have some of the critical pieces that you might need for your own wealth to completely flourish and grow in your own hands. So with that, I'd love to give big thanks to Linda Fisk, first and foremost, for, just creating Leadership Global and this beautiful community, and for your facilitation and all that you bring to this beautiful forum. And then also hand it over to Dr. Erica Razur so that we can just really start a great conversation and learn what you have seen and get into things.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, Jennifer, Adipia, Linda. Thank you all for having me here. I'm very, very excited. I see a couple of familiar faces here. Linda Lingo, hello. And I'm just, I'm really excited to be asked to come share what I know about this topic today. So a little bit about me before I jump into the presentation. I am a practicing financial therapist and a recovering academic. I was a professor for 10 years, and I recently, last May, I've been a financial therapist for 14 years. And prior to that time, I was a financial advisor in the very traditional sense. And, throughout my life, I've been called to kind of do different things. And I found the most joy, the most satisfaction in my career as a financial therapist and coach, where I really deal with the emotional side of money. And when we are thinking about, money in general, and I love that I'm the first person to present this year because I feel like it's so important to set the stage for the rest of your year. I'm really here to give you some insight on how you can allow yourself to safely land in preparing your financial vision for the next 12 months of your life. So I'm going to share my screen here and we will go ahead and get into it. All right. So as Jennifer mentioned, our relationship with our wealth really is a job from the inside out. And so today, what I really want to highlight is talking about right thinking, our financial values, reframing those, the difference between what it means to do and to be. And then, of course, because I'm a financial therapist and coach, I'm going to walk you through a bit of a meditation to help connect you with yourself in the moments where you might be feeling a little wobbly. So when we are talking about creating long-lasting generational wealth and really allowing yourself that safe place to land, it begins with an inner commitment. Nothing is more important than becoming the person you know you are. And that is a challenge for a lot of us, and especially as women. We wear many hats. We have all these different roles. We feel pulled in different directions. And when it comes to wealth and mastering our wealth, one of the things that we have been really kind of conditioned to live in, just by nature of being a woman, is that fear space Jennifer was talking about. It's that fear of the unknown, the fear of, am I going to do the right thing or say the right thing? And the thing with money that is so important to understand, and I think most of you probably do, money is not just money. Our wealth is not just wealth. It intersects with every aspect of our life. So if we are getting ready to make a big change, let's say at work or in our career, or we're feeling called to a greater purpose, we're feeling curious, we are feeling like we need to learn, because that is something that is coming from the inside. It's coming from within. Women are known for our gut, for our intuition, right? We have that distinction, but sometimes we do a really good job at shutting our own doors and getting in our own way. And that's because of the seeking of validation from other people, and the comparison that we do to ourselves, and the comparisons that we've been conditioned with since we were young. And when we are looking at outside of ourselves to validate our worth, whether it be in our relationships, our money, our careers, we typically find periods of brief quenching of thirst. And that's why I like to reference this idea of sunshine and rain. You can be both sunshine and rain for yourself. If you are this beautiful flower, right? I love using this analogy. You can be both, but a lot of times we look for somebody else to water us. We look for somebody else to provide the sunshine. And we forget that we have the capability to do that from within. And it's really important to understand and master that from the inside out, as you're rethinking about what it means to move forward in creating generational wealth, happiness, success, whatever that definition is for you. That's your focus. And one of the ways I like to start this conversation is talking about this concept of right thinking. And sometimes this concept is known as right intention. This comes from some Buddhist principles. But really what this refers to is, and I think probably most people understand what I say when we've all heard thoughts become things. Now, do I believe that? To a degree. And I want to make some clarifications here. Okay. When we're thinking about right thinking, there are four things I really want to go over today in terms of what this looks like, and some things to kind of counteract and put that into context. So when we are thinking emotionally, we have a tendency, of course, to kind of question ourselves as women. Am I thinking too emotionally? Am I not thinking the right things? Am I overthinking this? Am I underthinking this? And there gets to be so much thinking that is driven by the feeling part of ourselves. And that is important. Feeling is certainly important. And I would never in a million years as a financial therapist tell you not to feel something, because without our feelings, we have no direction. It is the acknowledgement of the feelings that brings us to a place of progress, forward momentum. It brings us to a place where shame can't hide. Once you speak the name of shame, you can't hide it. However, if you get yourself in a loop, and especially with a topic so sensitive as money, and there are so many emotional connotations, if the emotional thinking is getting in the way, you are not in a right thinking state of mind. You're unable to process and get the stillness and clarity you need to really think about what it is you're trying to accomplish. And of course, when it comes to our financial states, we all have desires. You are all here for a reason today. You're all in Wealth Mastery. You are in Leadership Global. So your financial aspirations cross multiple communities, multiple spaces, and they cross multiple areas in your life as well. And again, I'm talking about the inside. And so when we are setting or thinking about financial goals for ourselves, what is it I want to do? What is it I want to accomplish? What goals am I going to set? What New Year's resolutions am I going to make? You are thinking from a place of desire. And desire is important because it gives us that context. It gives us that space to create. Okay. But we do have to understand that desire can be a place where abundance is born, but it can also be a place where fear breeds itself. And if we are not aware of our emotions and our desires and the way we think about things, it definitely informs the actions we take. Similarly, we have to evaluate what kind of generational patterns that we have been exposed to or societal conditioning that we have been exposed to. And you'll hear this talked about as, what are your money beliefs? What are your scripts? What are these things that, I have been conditioned to believe? And a lot of times we might do that work early on. I'm sure most of you have probably heard about, what are my money beliefs? What are the things I learned from my parents? What are the things I have been told as the right thing and the wrong thing to do? There is a lot of to telling and to doing that we are wrapped into. Just from a very basic, you need to save 10% of your income. And if you don't, you're going to be wrecked financially. There's a lot of us being told what to do. And where that gets in the way is if we are not in a place where we can really think about that and regularly evaluate how it is showing up in our lived experience day to day, month to month, year to year, because life changes, right? Everybody's life journey is different. There's ups, there's downs, there's light, there's dark, there's pain, there's joy. There's all these things. The fact of it remains is nothing is permanent. And so knowing that nothing is permanent, it gives us a little bit of grace, a little bit of space to where we can look at these ancestral patterns, these cycles, these curses, if you will, depending on how you like to frame it for yourself, and learn how to break yourself out of those cycles. The last piece of this, in terms of getting yourself right and right thinking, is a commitment, as I mentioned on the previous slide, this commitment to this inner work of self-improvement, to being curious, to learning, and to making intentional choices. As I said, right thinking is also sometimes known as right intentions. And there is a famous song by Madonna that says that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I don't know if she was the original purveyor of that quote, to be honest with you. I just know it is a lyric of hers in a song. But it is, we all have good intentions. Some of us don't, but most of us do. I like to believe that people are inherently good. But we parent with good intentions. We do the things we think are right because we have been told, we have been ingrained to believe a certain set of standards, values, beliefs, mores, and norms. We've got all that, sociological and psychological mumbo jumbo to think through. But what we often don't do is think about the way that shows up in our financial values. And financial values, are some of those things that I definitely encourage you to reevaluate on a monthly basis as you are emerging as somebody who wants to make that inner commitment to becoming who it is who you are. And it takes a lot of inner work to do that. And I want to make some distinctions here with our financial values. Oh no, where'd my slides go? Did I miss one? Guys, I'm not the most tech savvy here. There we go. Thank you. So in context to the previous slide and this right thinking, the first thing to know is that you are ultimately responsible for what you seek to do, the information you're curious about when it comes to your finances. If you are, for example, interested in learning about private equity, this is a place where you can make some discerning choices and exercise right thinking and say, I don't know enough about this, but I am really, really interested. And being able to say, I was told growing up that women shouldn't get involved in that like heavy finance stuff, as Adipia previously mentioned. I don't know if I want people to know that I'm interested in that. There's a lot of heavy weight and guilt and, like I said, shame. And so in the context of breaking away from some of those, generational societal patterns, you can look at those financial values that you've been given. They're often given and inherited. So many of us neglect to create financial values of our own. And when we're thinking about financial values, often we attach a word to that. It's very similar to like when we're identifying what our core values are. If we're starting a business, if we're all business owners here, we know what it means to, write a statement of core values, and we attach words to that. It can be, security is really important to me. Security is a financial value. That is fantastic that security is a financial value, but is that financial value of security coming from a place of being scared or fearful when you were a kid? Or because you just left a marriage that you needed to get out of because you weren't happy, because you were, in any of these situations. And so it's evaluating what those financial values actually mean to you. And you can take what you want and leave what doesn't resonate anymore. And that is something that when I say you're giving yourself permission and allowing yourself to completely land in your finances, sometimes it means going against everything you thought you believed, because it doesn't bring you what it is you want to be or what you feel like you're becoming. And we don't always know the answers to that. And so we come into this position where we are in a constant cycle of chasing and attracting. This is the difference between, magnetizing and repelling. This is what I was talking about in the right thinking slide of, what does it mean to be able to create abundance? Are the things I am thinking about, am I getting too overly emotional about something to the point where I am paralyzed? And here's the thing, when we are thinking about thinking and we are thinking about doing, experience is the thing that does things. And that experience is informed by what we give our attention to. So if you're processing your financial values and there are strong feelings coming up, even if they're the so-called negative feelings, anger, sadness, guilt, shame, fear, all of those things can be very powerful. And we have a culture of what I describe as toxic positivity and spiritual materialism, to where we as women, especially, I feel like, are targeted to make things glittery, rainbows, butterflies, and sunshine all the time. And that if you allow negative emotions, that's immediately going to become your reality. There is a fine line between letting your emotions in and getting angry at something you experienced, whether it be a childhood situation or something you experienced in college or in a marriage or whatever it is, or a business deal went bad, or you made a bad investment. We have a tendency to push those feelings down because we don't want our thoughts to become things. If I'm feeling angry about this, if I'm feeling angry because I made this bad financial decision, if we're not processing that, you end up in that space of wrong thinking where you are ending up chasing and attracting everything you lack. And so shifting that into this right intention space really does inform that shift from to doing to being. And this is what women are really good at. We're really good to doers. We're extremely good to doers. And I'm going to tell you a little bit why here. I keep doing it again. I am sorry, ladies and gentlemen. So a lot of times we're asked when we are growing up, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? Are people really asking you what you want to be when you grow up? Or are they asking you, what do you want to do when you grow up? I think we get a lot of that. What do you want to do when you grow up? And so for us, a lot of the to do is, well, I want to go be a doctor, right? I want to go be a doctor so I can, have these things so I can be. How many times do you hear somebody saying, I want to do really, really good things in my career so I can have a lot of money, so I can be able to retire with $1 million and take my grandkids to Disneyland. And there's kind of this idea that you have to stop living and enjoying your life. And so instead what you do is you choose to be in a moment by moment basis. And when you do that through the context of doing instead of being, you're reassigning the power to the action. And the greatest success comes when we reframe that, when we realize that doing comes from our being. And so instead of creating a to-do list, let's start thinking about creating a be list. What is it I want to be? And so many of us can say, well, I want to be financially successful. I want to be debt-free. I want to be somebody who really knows what private equity looks like. I want to be somebody who's savvy in crypto. I want to be joyful. I want to be creative. I want to be able to sleep soundly at night. I want to be a present parent. And when we inform our doing from a place of being first, that gives ourselves the space we need to work through our emotions, to evaluate what it is we are understanding about ourselves, our greater sense of purpose in the world. And it gives us the permission to explore things, to look at things through a different lens, to look at fear and fright and being scared and these feelings of shame that often cloud our judgment, our curiosity, our willingness to learn. And it gets us into this place where things get a little bit murky. And when there is this confusion present, the shame tends to grow. Because the longer you stay in that state of confusion about what you're feeling, it's harder to get back out of it. And one of the things to remember about your finances, your emotional states, and thinking about how do I get in a space to think correctly, to exercise right thinking, is to get in the state of being instead of doing. And this takes a lot of practice. And it takes a lot of practice because, like I said, we are always in this position, not always, but often in the position as women, to where we are unsure and unsteady, we're wobbly. And so much of that does come from, that messaging we were given. And so when we are thinking about the way right thinking intersects with our financial values and what is important to us, reframing that into the state of being instead of doing gives us a bit of a roadmap to where if your goal, for example, this year is to be a bit savvier of an investor. Well, what are the to-do items related to that? Is it coming to, these types of sessions? Is it, meeting with a personal financial advisor with a specialty? Is it doing some more networking? It doesn't have to be these giant, momentous things with these momentous, heavy to-do lists around them. In fact, what we can do is make them moment by moment. Instead of making it momentous, make it moment by moment, where just for today, I'm going to work on this aspect of to being. And this to do is supportive of that. And then, of course, there's the have piece. What is it you want to have from this concept of being? If you say, I want to be more creative, what is it that you're going to have from that? So many of us, as business owners, as parents, as friends, as sisters, daughters, husbands, you name it, there is a lot of pressure to make money, to invest money, to do smart things with our money. And those are all good things. They're all good things. But at what consequence? And often we have this consequence be ourselves, and we suffer the consequences of not giving our self space to grow, to develop, to reconnect with who we are on the inside. So I see this all the time with clients, especially business owners, is we get bogged down in the hustle of the bustle of, I feel guilty for going back to my creative outlet because I'm not in a meeting or I'm not making money at this point. I am not doing what I need to do to support my family financially or to support my employees. And this, again, comes back to a lot of that oxygen mask, analogy that we hear. You're on an airplane. Before you put your mask on other people, put it on yourself, because you are not going to survive. You might survive, but are you thriving? And if you're not focusing on you, that becomes somewhat problematic. And so your ability to serve others, to really kind of probably complete the mission and vision of what it is you are trying to do with your life, then becomes dry and stagnant, and you find yourself in a kind of a dark place. And when we are looking at the emotional and mental well-being of ourselves, financially, it always intersects with that. And so it is okay to try different things. It is okay to look at different avenues and say, you know what, I was really interested in this private equity investing thing, but like it's over my head. It's too much. I'm overwhelmed by that. That is okay to be overwhelmed. But what is also overwhelmed is to have that conversation with somebody. Because when you are able to share about financial topics with other people, your chances of success increase exponentially. There's tons of research out there that says that. If you're able to have conversations around money, you're already ahead of the game. And again, it is hard to do that because we don't want to look stupid. We don't want to look like we are ignorant. And this is why money is still such a taboo topic to begin with. And this is why we have the issues we do.